Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Can I present you guys with some paperwork? Is that okay? Right. Sir, you guys, appreciate y'all's time. Try to be brief. Let's go. First of all, guys, we're here, basically, me and some gentlemen are here to present to you guys what's kind of been going on in the county. I think a lot of people are not aware of, okay? Really, it wouldn't be a board issue for the county except for a lot of these activities happen on the county property. We've been playing youth football in this county now for the last 5 or 6 years in a league. It's called Sertoma. That league is managed by a guy in Yadkin County that basically there's 3 reasons why we're here. Number one is we came for the simple fact that we're dealing in cash money. We feel like there's some money that's going out there that's not being reported, which affects our kids. Number 2 is this gentleman is basically not providing us with the services that he's agreed upon by us paying him the admission. Number 3 is the insurance issue. The county is, quote, I guess, liable if somebody gets hurt on school grounds, just for simple fact because we're having a school function that's extra activity that it's actually not insured. Okay? And so I'm not going to blame anyone for this. I'm just going to present you guys with the papers. This is all public knowledge. It's papers that's been out. But in packet 1, in packet 2 and 3 is basically the whole entire system, Sertoma Youth Football's tax returns. Okay. What we do here in this county is similar to other counties, which include Yadkin County, which has 5 teams. We have 1. Wilkes has 4 teams, and Nash County has 1. So that's 11 teams that participate in this league. Yadkin County is already pretty much recognized a lot of this stuff and has pretty much pulled out of the league. I've got proof and documents from their superintendent that they're no longer going to participate in this league. So what we've done is we've took these tax documents because I don't want to report this, but I have to. It's just public knowledge. I feel like it's wrongdoing. So I feel like for me to sleep and rest better is to get it off my chest. So I've taken this to our superintendent here in Alleghany County School System. I've asked him to address it for the last 2.5 months, and he has addressed it. However, in his address, we're looking at monies and funds that we take $3 a gate, and we generally average $1,000 to $1,400 per gate for our county per game. There's 5 home games. So we have a county employee that will, I assume, testify that he has sent this guy $6,000 to $7,000 worth of county money, taxpayers' money that come in and enter these gates. However, if you look on the tax return, on the very first page, in 2009, tax return, but that includes part of the 2010 playing season. If you look under open inspection, it'll tell you that this ran until August 31st, 2010. If you go down there to Part 1C and under revenue, if you look at that, that'll say $1,770. Okay, that is for the whole entire league. That he's saying that that's how much gate revenue was generated. Okay, we see him $6,000 to $7,000, potentially close to $8,000, and that's a sidebar. For the simple fact that we have no transparency in this issue as far as the county level and the league level. We're taking cash money as an employee and employees of this county at the gate. There's no receipts handed whatsoever. That money is then instructed to be put in a brown bag and taken to a local golf course where it's distributed to the other guys. And all counties are participating in this. And why this hasn't came out before, I don't know why nobody's questioning it. So we're handing over money to the county, and basically we're not getting the first receipt for it, not a penny. What the club does to represent our county athletes is our kids pay $35 a piece to register. That $35 then goes into the county budget, to my understanding, because what that $35 represents is insurance to protect the county. They take that money, they pay this gentleman X amount of dollars, and he's supposed to provide us with insurance. So I'm gonna prove early with another speaker, we basically don't have insurance on this, because we've got several documents on that. But if you look and turn also to page, the last page in that first packet, it's going to tell you on there, under the Part 1, Line C, they have to list the revenue and how they generate the revenue, and also they itemize the expenses. The $1,700 gate money, which we project $60,000 to $80,000. Okay? That's a big discrepancy, because each team, 11 teams, is sending $6,000 to $8,000 per year. Times 11 teams. That's what this should be. Second thing on there, if you look down in Part 1, Line 16, they got a Sertoma project. It's called Heritage Foundation. Okay? Believe in giving money to students. We're taking money from our own gate and funding other counties' scholarships without us knowing about it. And what I mean by that, there's a set of rules that our county agreed upon once we went into this league, that basically this is not included. They give anywhere from $600 to $1,000 based on these tax returns every year to a Yadkin County kid, and that's money that it'd be different if it was generated and went from county to county and supported everybody. But instead it's just going and funding Yadkin County. And what I want to show you guys next is if you look at 2 and 3, they're all just tax returns stating how much revenue that this guy basically collected. But if you look under the expense items on all 3 documents, guys, the main expense for our league is equipment. Okay? On his documents, there's 0 expenses for equipment. 0. Either, and I'm just telling you, I talked to the company that represents him, and that's Cooks, down in North Wilkesboro. There is 0 expenses on equipment for 5 years. 0. Okay, under original agreement, when we went into this league, we were supposed to have equipment replaced every 3 years. Okay? Number 1, helmets. They have to be reconditioned, so basically keep our kids safe from concussions. They have to be recertified every 2 years now. They expire in 10 years. This league's playing season that we had 11 expired helmets. 11. That means if there had been a concussion without the insurance, this is what would have been liable to the county. It's a management issue, guys. We don't have nobody managing the league local area. We do have a board, Sertoma Youth Football Board, that's here locally. This has been presented to them. We've asked, several times. I've talked to Don. What's going on here? And what's happening is we're giving this guy our money. We've got taxpayers in this county that enter these gates paying $3. Some of them, as you know, can't afford food or pay their kids lunch for getting behind, or they give $3 to enter the gate, and this guy takes our $3 and he walks off and leaves us with it. So what we've done is we presented to Dr. Cox. What he done is got the school attorney involved. He came up with this list. I don't have it in your packet, but I can pass it around because I did find out that is public knowledge. That was not something that's supposed to be kept, from everybody. But what I'm going to suggest to you guys, in that memorandum, it was a certified letter to this Mr. Charles Collins, which is the Commissioner of the Youth Football. Okay? That letter was certified back on January 17th, sent off on the 17th. And in that letter, it's demanding that he answer these questions. And what I mean by that, he was demanded to have an audit by January 31st as a deadline of this year of the tax returns. He was asked basically to come up with the insurance documents for the last 2 years showing that every player was covered, every school was covered. Also, he was asked basically to show a general ledger or balance sheet and also bank records, detailed bank records. I mean, it states it there what their attorney wrote, and it was approved by Dr. Cox. This letter goes out, and the gentleman, basically gives us very little information to work on. Very little. And what I mean by that, if you'll turn to number 4. Okay? Number 4 is going to tell you guys basically about the insurance. We called upon, there's 2 levels of insurance. We're going to have medical coverage and general liability. Well, our medical insurance for Alleghany was through Nationwide. We was covered. If you find the policy number there, you call it, we're covered. All right, if you go over to the 3rd page and the 4th page, he's asking us basically, that's his general ledger. That's his Yadkin Sertoma Club. And he's got 2009, 2010. Now look at this general ledger. It was faxed from a 3rd-party independent business, Blue Rhino. Why that is, we don't know yet. But basically, he's showing that he put deposits in the bank without bank statements because we requested to see those, and we still have yet to get them. But underneath there, you'll see that they have an expense now. Football equipment. In 2 years, he spent $58,571 that we can't find on tax returns. Number 2 is the officials. Each club is responsible paying for the officials before the game ends. So what we do is we take this money, this cash money, in this brown bag, and we pay the officials $165 apiece for 3 officials. And that happens every game. We then take the remaining money and hand it to Mr. Charles Collins, the golf course. From there, he proceeds to say he's paid officials again, based on his general ledger and his balance sheet. We've already paid them, remind you, once out of the cash dividend, out of the funds, okay? The other line down there, it says insurance. It says basically in 2010 that we've seen them $731. Now, when I say we, I mean the whole entire league. Don, I think he has this in our check register. If he'll go back and check, we send him more money than that for insuring our own players, our own county. That's not counting the other 10 teams. So that's where we're saying there's so much discrepancy in the insurance, because we send him more money than what he's claiming for the whole entire league. So somebody's not insured, because the way they insure these players, I'll have my expert here, as I call him, we're insuring per kid. And that's why we have to have the registration fees, we have to have all the kids' date of birth, we have to have their physical, we have to have all this documentation before they can actually play football. And the reason they do that is to protect the county. We have to have insurance, okay? Let me see. Oh, that's the check. We can prove that based on this, we sent him $860.20, which does not match up on his tax return. Okay? You know, we just have an issue here with the insurance, guys, because that puts the county liable. If you look on over where it says Alleghany 2011, this paper, Tom, I think you've seen this the other night. This paper was presented to our local board. This is his general ledger. Okay? If you look at the games, we got 5 home games up here in Alleghany. He's saying the first one was $1,700, all the way down to the 5th game, $898. But if you look down at the net, where after you take the referees off, he's telling me the last game that we had up here, we made $103. So, I will testify and tell you guys, I was there at that game. It was called Breast Cancer Awareness. We had projected, since we can't go back and prove it because it's all cash and there's no receipts at the gate ticketed, we probably estimate that we had about 700 fans in those stands. Because what we done was called this Tunnel of Hope. It was to represent all breast cancer survivors, people that's been afflicted or affiliated with breast cancer. They came down on the field and we had this big tunnel of people. And he's telling me that we only had 30-some paying customers. It's not right. Okay? Also, if you look down there, he says he deposited for the whole entire team $1,617. That's what we netted. On down, if you look there, he's got the equipment expense, minus $1,781. If you look off to your right, it says football equipment picked up from Cooks by Kevin. That's Mr. Kevin Sperling, one of our coaches. He didn't pick that equipment up. I did. That equipment was paid for by me, all but $170. I got canceled checks I can show you, my personal checks. I purchased this equipment myself. And for him to say that we're taking this off of our bottom line, this is his general ledger, that's false accusations. I paid for the equipment. I've got the receipts. And this is where we're at, guys. We're at the point where we've asked our local board. We've come to these gentlemen and asked them if we could play under a different conference. We form our own conference. We got Yadkin County, half the team's already pulled out. We just want to be team number 6. During this process, we was asked to prove why we wanted to pull out. We was asked to prove all this. So we done some digging and research ourselves, all this public knowledge. So we didn't come into this trying to hurt anyone. We was asked to prove why do we want to make this league better. First thing that really bothers me is we got a lot of volunteer coaches. We don't even run a background check. We've got coaches that spend more time with these kids than your preachers and some of your teachers and some of your parents. We don't run the first background check. So as a new conference, we've entitled that we want to run background checks. I just think it's safety for players. God forbid we end up like Penn State, have somebody come in here and want to volunteer, then you have a disaster knowing that you don't have no insurance. And so what we've tried to do is put a package together for a local board to accept, to move on to a better ideology and make this thing run better and legally. However, we've had deadlines in the past. January 31st, the board met February 2nd. I think the way that board came out that night, it was basically, let's give this guy another chance. Let's give him some more chances to come up with some more documents. Those documents haven't gotten here yet. If you read in that one request I handed Mr. Richardson, it asked for these 4 things that had to be done. I mean, it's there. We got a lawyer that wrote this letter. This gentleman did not present it to us. And now, I'm going to show you the insurance. I'm going to hand this over. If you look on this, it says Certificate of General Liability. There's 2 of them in here. One's going to be for Yadkin County School, and one's going to be Alleghany County School. Okay? This is what they call an official binder on insurance. What this does, it states who's covered and who's not covered. On here, he presents us with $500,000 insurance. And if you look at Yadkin County, he's covering them in general liability of $2 million. So who's to say why we got $500,000? That's not enough money. Our league's going to recommend $1 million, if not at least 2, which is what they've represented at Yadkin County. Allegany's only represented for $500,000. However, if you look up at the top corner, it says Insure Affording Coverage. That's the name of the company that's wrote this, and that's called National Casualty. What I've done is I called National Casualty, basically to see if we had insurance. When you call them and give them that policy number, 409-49-71131, with an effective coverage date of August the 1st, don't exist. That policy number does not exist. When you call National Casualty, what they're going to end up giving you is telling you that all their policies begin in 3 letters and end with 4 numbers. I'm just letting you know that based on our research, this is a bogus claim. However, if you look up there at Moore Moxley Insurance, top left-hand corner, that's the gentleman that's the commissioner of our football league, and he owns his own insurance company. That's what he does for business. And he's writing insurance under other insurances based with false claims and false policy numbers. So, guys, I'm just telling you this, and if you call National Casualty, and which I hope this board does, I hope it elects a member to do this, and you guys are going to find out we have been playing football in our fields with lapsed coverage. Now I'm going to let my insurance guy finish up with this. This is Mr. Jeff Collins. He's from Yadkin. He's a Farm Bureau agent. So he knows about these insurance policies, and he'll kind of update you with that, and then we'll take questions.
Gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to be here. Proud to stand beside Tracy. Number one, we've been accused in a witch hunt per se. It's not what it's about. It's about the kids. It's about the kids' safety. It's also about the county's safety. It's about coaches' safety. I coached myself this year. Got an old saying that says you get what you inspect, not what you expect. Unfortunately, we were asked to come join the organization, And myself, I went down with a couple other guys, paid the annual membership, and I did ask a couple of questions. I personally feel like they were the wrong questions to ask. I'm not a member of that club, the organization. Didn't accept me into it. Been twice president of National Association of Life Underwriters, 21 years at the Farm Bureau, run the Alleghany County Farm Bureau. I actually live in Hamptonville instead of Yadkinville. But anyway, what I want to get to you, because Tracy checked on y'all's general liability, is Yadkin County's liability. Y'all also, from what I understand, and we'll get to the liability part, we'll cover that for you. If you'll see our Yadkin County liability policy, let's see here. We'll go to page 5, guys, if y'all want to look at that. First thing, we'll go back to the Sertoma. When I went down to join, I asked about liabilities to cover coaches and cover the organizations, because I was concerned for what I had accumulated in my life, that if we were to have an accident with a kid, that we could get sued as coaches. I'm sure Coach Smith has experienced that over the years. And it's got worse with liabilities, having proper equipment. Now, helmet stuff has to be updated every 2 years. But he was asked to fax a copy of your insurance binder, or a copy of your insurance up here. And if y'all look at page 5, that's exactly what that is for Sertoma. Y'all see this document? That's Sertoma, wrong. Number 5. Yes, sir.
There is a lot of pages, sorry guys, but
Yes.
there's so much black and white information.
On this is what was faxed, I believe, to the superintendent of the schools up here, was page 5, okay? The problem with it, guys, is if you turn over to page 6, we highlighted special events. It says events and activities held throughout the year are covered under general liability policy with the following exceptions, subject to terms, conditions, and exclusions. And if you go down there to I, it said events including contact sports, including but not limited to football, wrestling, boxing, rugby, etc., and where regular physical contact is expected. Non-contact sports such as sports as golf, tennis, and softball, baseball, basketball, and cheerleading, etc. It goes on. Fellas, that's an exclusion in policy, okay? What's been sent to you is a document saying you're covered here, but wouldn't you like to have page number 2 also? I mean, that's my thing. It says down here that the club will submit a special events policy. The problem is we've had is transparency. And I have to admit, this is the first county commissioners meeting that I've ever been to, but something tells me it's kind of unlike the Farm Bureau. We have a board, we have a secretary, a treasurer, we have minutes of the meeting. Our business is transparent. If you want to come and see something, folks, we're going to come and we'll show it to you. We have nothing to hide. So why would you not have the whole contract faxed or emailed to you?
Which was requested in that January 31st deadline. The whole policy was requested, and he only faxes the first page without exclusions. Exclusions is for the purpose of why we're meeting here. Football,
Chairman.
contact sport.
Could I say something just as a citizen? Who would want to have any insurance that you didn't have a policy with?
Can
Or
I
four.
ask you a
I don't
couple
want it.
questions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Bass.
Since we're here.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Insurance. And again, I'm just asking questions here.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
I'll
go
answer
to
my
four-
best on
Go to
this.
4, the 4 document,
No, yes, sir.
okay? Now, I can only repeat what I'm being told. as
Absolutely,
you're
sir.
saying, okay? That is the policy that covers our kids, correct?
That's our accident. That covers excess. If we've got people that has coverage, that have deductibles, then this excess policy covers it.
Excess for the kids. Does this cover also, again, what I'm being told, coaches, cheerleaders? things like-
Cheerleaders, yes. Coaches, no.
So coaches, no.
No.
All right, so-
This is a excess policy, and trust me, I know a little bit about this one because this is how I kind of got thrown. I stay on the bus occasionally. My sports club director asked me, he wanted a copy of this because we've never received a copy of the policy. So when I went to ask for this stuff, had a little trouble getting it. They do have health insurance. My concern being is, we ought to all have policies. I mean, really, as, league reps and stuff, that the parents, when they come to you, they can ask you what you've got or who you need to contact, and the information's there for you. Again, we go back to transparency,
Okay,
something we can say.
and so this does cover the children.
Yes, sir. My only question there would be, if I was the commissioners and I had part of this, my question would be, to the man handling this, is how many kids are actually listed on the application and on the policy that are covered? Because, to the best of my knowledge, we have somewhere over 1,000 kids, counting cheerleaders, within all the schools. And Tracy actually left Elkin City Schools out of one of the groups he was talking about. So it is figured on by the number of kids that they have and a cost per child in different age ranges.
And again, I'm asking questions.
Yes,
So we
sir.
go to 5.
Yes, sir.
That has the exclusion of the contact. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so I guess, is it presented, what if someone would argue, okay, we're covering the contact sport with 4, yes, it is an additional covered policy, meaning that's for the kids, but then on the Sertoma liability insurance, which is number 5, it does have exclusion for the contact, but it does cover liabilities for other things, correct?
So this is nothing but medical insurance. Number 4 handles
Solid.
nothing but health insurance. No liability whatsoever, sir.
Mhm.
That means if a kid gets a concussion or if a kid gets neck broke,
If you have
county's liable,
Okay.
no insurance.
absolutely.
And as a county agent, Don, I would think that since your department wrote the check, we'd own the policy, we don't even have a copy of the policy.
Mhm.
Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
Now, and we've asked for that copy of that policy, and we've been given the runaround. And I'm talking about our attorney for the county school system asked for that policy. And he cannot afford us the policies, the policy number that I came up with, when you call, it's not acceptable, that's a bogus number.
Now, Tracy made a comment about he didn't understand why Alleghany had $500,000 worth of liability insurance, and Yadkin County had $1 million limit, $2 million aggregate. But if y'all turn to page number 7, go to the second page behind that. Be the second page on number 7, sir. Again, been in the business 21 years, when I ask about liability to protect myself as a coach, being on the field, and I don't know, maybe I've been around people long enough you can read things, but I really didn't feel comfortable with the answer that I got. So I done the dig and found out that Sertoma had the second page exclusions on it. Also ended up with the liability policy here that was supposed to be on Yadkin County. And I don't know if Tracy's fixed those up to the X's, but guys, I want to tell you something. I've got around 13 employees that work for me right now. I can understand 1 or 2 mistakes, okay, on anything. People make mistakes. I make mistakes. But to start with, the policy number that was given on our Yadkin County policy was wrong. There was a 3 there where a 6 was supposed to be. It took me about 30 minutes going through with a grain dealer's customer service lady to help me find this stuff. Also the fact that the policy was supposedly effective dates were 9/21/2010 and 9/21/2011. Now, Mr. Adams, you know when football league starts up here in Alleghany and all the other schools, correct, sir?
Yes.
Which would be around August 1st, right? So kind of flag popped up on me again, and I said, well, why would a man start a policy in the middle of September at any point in time if we started football back in August? I mean, I don't care if you go back 15 years, wouldn't the renewal date be the same? It makes sense to me, being in business 21 years. So that threw the red flag up. I got to asking more questions. Come to find out, that policy was effective dates wasn't that. The policy number was 5919691. The effective dates were 9/5/2010 and 9/5/2011. And that would be great too, but for a couple things. Up in your upper right-hand corner is the date that the binder was fixed, which was 9/6/2011. That's a day after the policy terminates, okay? The other thing is this, the policy had lapsed, on 2/7/2011. So two places, we've got a binder, again, with wrong dates. So Tracy says y'all's 500,000 is not what our million was, but with this not being active, maybe your 500,000 is a whole lot more than what we had with the million, okay? Because this is no more than a piece of paper unless the company is willing to stand behind it. So, there's some questions that need to be asked. The questions have been asked. If you look 3 pages back, going back to Sertoma, I asked a question to Amy Ellington, who actually works for Sertoma, about if they had gotten a special events policy, and they said at that time, the Yadkin Sertoma Club has not requested information from a brokerage regarding the football program. Insurance would have been obtained locally. And you go back to the same page, that's the local insurance with the general liability policy that was canceled back in February the 7th of 2011. Guys, I've got too much to lose. Number one, I've got a son that I love more than life itself. I love my $2. I also make a living for those. My wife stays at home. I try to do it the old-fashioned way for her to raise the kids. And while I'm on the field, if I'm out there coaching, if something happens to one of those kids, and we get found in some form of liable case, I want it to be covered. So, with this, I'm going to ask you, because Yadkin County, Dr. Hobbs, I'm going to have to say that I'm proud of Dr. Hobbs to stand up and say we're no longer going to be a part of this organization with our football league. But I would ask you a couple of things that you might would do as far as the county commissioner. Companies are open from 9 to 5, every one of them, and they're generally Eastern Standard Time, okay? Bottom line, you can get somebody. Have the agent handling the business, who Tracy's name, either come up here or have a rep go down to Yadkin, sit with that gentleman, and do a call on an open line. And it's pretty simple. Ask effective dates, amounts of coverage, if a policy's good or not. Y'all guys have been around long enough. You got elected as county commissioners, I'm sorry. You know how to handle this business. It's gone long enough the way it is. Don't take no for an answer or get put off. We're trying to form our new league for our kids, but I can tell you, without a doubt, the one stronghold has been that we're not going to have $1 go into our new organization. That money's going to go back to the schools, because it's the kids' money. It's the money's coming out of the parents' pockets. It needs to go back to the schools to assure that we've got the right kind of helmets, the right kind of shoulder pads, knee pads, all the equipment to protect our kids from a serious injury like y'all guys had up here at the wrestling match. Because I don't think there's one person in this room that hold a hand up and say, hey, I like my kid to be there. I wouldn't. I'm telling you, we're praying for you, your young man down in Yadkin County. All the churches, everything. And it's mentioned at our meetings every time we go to them. But I ask, don't take no for an answer. Step up to the plate. Have full copies of the policies, no cover sheets, guys. This is a cover sheet. That's what you got. How many of you today are willing to accept that? That's for yourself. I'm not. Look for exclusions. Ask questions. Transparency with everything. This exchanging of monies in paper bags and stuff, it's ridiculous. I mean, 2012. Maybe back in the day, that's how it was done. Now it needs to be money, needs to be followed. Health accident policy, find out how many number of kids were covered on the with the company last year as a whole, not just Alleghany County. Find out how many kids were covered under that policy. Again, I'm thankful for Dr. Hobbs stepping up and kind of taking the lead on this. I think some of the other programs have maybe fell behind because they don't have separate sport clubs like West Yadkin does, East Bend, Boonville. These parents have come together to put an association together where they can provide for their kids. But it's time to get something done to not only protect the kids, protect the coaches, protect the county, protect the board members, protect your commissioners. So, gentlemen, I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Just quickly on Dr. Hobbs' letter.
Yes, sir.
Number 7, right, number 6 and 7. Okay.
Right. The question, I'm sorry, our only concern is who we will play. Recommended to the Board of Education that the middle schools leave the Sertoma program, and our middle school football programs would now be under our middle schools.
Actually, within the next 2 years, I think it is in the works that you will probably see the middle schools join in under the high school football, which you would be,
So,
up until then, Yadkin County right now is actually looking to play in Surrey and some of the Stokes counties. Dr. Hobbs is very firm on this. He's not 100%, he wants the kids, they're gonna play football somewhere. And he is the North Carolina Assistant State Association of High School Athletics Director. I don't know if y'all know that or not.
And he's not participating in Sertoma.
uh,
He's made that clear, that he's pulled out.
yeah, that's what I was.
That's 5 teams, that's half of our league, we'll be number 6. And my question is, and I wish I was at the board the other night, would you rather lay in bed with a snake or not play football at all? I'd rather have no football than to do all this illegal activity and put us all at risk. Talking about taxpayers, coaches, talking about teachers, talking about a lot of people putting at risk here over one man's mistake. Would you rather play football under that or not play no football? I'd rather play no football if that's what we have to do. Otherwise, we've joined together with Yadkin County and we're forming our own league.
So,
And that's where the superintendents gave us our blessings, and that's all we're asking for on our county, is our blessings. We have been told that, this has been mentioned, superintendent can control who plays on those fields. I would say that's y'all's field. If we can provide insurance to you guys, if we can provide a safe environment, why can't we lead this thing? It's way better than what we're doing now. We wanna take responsibility off the county rec office. We want to take it off the county, we want to take it away from other people. It's been mismanaged. This thing's went on way too long.
Any questions, Ms. Young?
I got a question on this ledger.
Yes, that was General Ledger, that
Now,
was
this-
sent,
This is what he sent, right?
that's what he sent, saying that we collected.
Well, now, you didn't mention security. Who's he paying security?
He pays, well, they take $50 out of the fee on security for other counties. We
I
don't
mean,
pay
this
that.
is for Alleghany.
Correct, we don't. We ain't paid a single security person up here $50 for that, no whatsoever.
Well, what's this seed?
The seed money, what that's supposed to represent is $250 that stays with the county, with Mr. David Evans, and make cash for the next game. What I mean for that, so he'll have cash, if somebody comes in with a $20 bill, he can give change. That's what that seed money is. But when you read under there, it says referees, we've already deducted $465 out before he deducts it again. And as you guys can see, that's I'm not the world's greatest speaker, but that is the world's worst general ledger I've ever seen. I know I've got a business in this county. If I show it to an IRS agent, that's kind of a joke. So what we're asking for is the blessing of this board. I guess you guys will have to think about this, and look at it, is for us as a county to pull out of Sertoma and also our local Sertoma youth football. It's been mismanaged. We've asked for this information for 2.5 months. We've brought it to the right officials from the county, the school system, everybody that's involved. And you guys are the last piece of the pie. And I felt like this should be public knowledge. And I'm sorry because it's going to affect a lot of people.
In your Sertoma board, what action, I wasn't quite clear, Tracy, what did the Sertoma board, local board?
Local board.
What
Well,
did
Tom can speak on that
I
because he
think
was
there
there.
were 3 things they asked of Mr.
There was
Collins.
4 things in that letter.
Okay, but from the meeting the other day. And-
Correct.
And, there was a safety concern, and, you know, we wanted some documentation on, I think, the recondition of the helmets and these type things. Obviously, the money part,
Correct.
and the insurance, and Those were the three concerns that the board, the local board had. And,
But did we not give him a deadline, January 31st? And how many of those things did he actually answer?
he had sent in some things that,
But correct, but he answered 0 things. And once again, this is not the first time Dr. Cox actually called this gentleman to ask him for these documents. I mean, this came very heated. I feel like people didn't want to really go public with this. We was trying to handle it, different ways. That's my personal opinion. It's, a political mess, really. And we finally, requested enough information to where he'd write a letter. And this letter was certified in the United States mail. It was received by him. He not acknowledged he received it. And then he forwarded us these, what I call non-transparent documents. They're not transparent. And they're not full of what we asked for. And I'm just going to tell you why. Because it does not exist. It does not exist. So now this thing puts us all, if I went to bed with this and hadn't called a commissioner or two, I feel like this would have been once again swept under the rug and we just went on to the next playing season.
Now, the only thing I would comment on that is I do know the Sertoma board was moving along, they're following up. This does go back to 2 months ago. It does go back to when we're talking about the cash, when I was made aware of when Dr. Cox was. They did go back to Charles Collins, did talk about getting agreements and concessions about receiving for next year. Then the group followed up with the taxes, questions. I've had the exact comments I've made to you as individuals is, yes, that looks strange. That's what generated this next level of
But are we going to
questions.
permit this guy to keep going?
Yes.
See, football season, people don't understand. When you purchase equipment and you generate something, you don't buy football equipment in June or July. It's very expensive. We've got donors and people that's going to buy this stuff now, which you can get 50 cents on the dollar. So what we went to Jeff, you guys back in December, is to come up with something. All right, we'll see what we do in January. We'll see what we do in February. And this thing's just been going on and on and on. And I just feel like this is above our heads. Because all the illegal activity that's involved. That's why I wanted to get.
Tracy, the only exception I took to it, that the board was gonna sweep it under the rug when there has been action taken. The superintendents the multiple counties have been meeting, discussing this. They've been
correct.
following up. Now, should it move faster? Do we need more answers? Yes, that's, the answer to that is yes. But the only issue that I just took up with was that you're claiming that.
I'm not claiming, I got documents.
No, that Tom or I was going to sweep it under the rug.
Did I mention your name or your name to sweep it under the rug? No.
Well,
I'm just asking this current board to review what I presented, which is what's been presented to our local board, Sertoma Youth Football Board. Every bit has been presented. I mean, they hadn't accepted it or they hadn't denied it as moving on, staying inside of Sertoma. That's the thing, we need an answer. We can't wait till August to make this answer. We need an answer now.
And I think ultimately from the county's, from the manager's perspective, and I've mentioned this individually to some commissioners I've talked to, I've mentioned this to Dr. Cox. Is there enough information? I think it really boils down to from the Alleghany County, now not Sertoma, I'm talking about Alleghany County government, okay? If you go through the history of the Sertoma League, when it formed, what you were doing before, it goes back to a volunteer group that was leading this up. It's no excuse to say this is how it's always been done, I understand that. Basically, approached recreation at the time for assistance. We started off by saying we will assist the Sertoma League by taking the registration in. Then, at that time, there was no cash handled, other than checks coming in for the insurance. Then, as David Evans came in on September, you still had people like Mr. Wooten and things of that nature that was handling the cash. He came in September. The volunteer base out there started dwindling. And then over the past 2 to 3 years, whereas it initially started with Amy and then went with David, that my comments to him was, well, you can volunteer on your own time, going out there on the weekends. to where it really started transitioning to where Sertoma was looking for Alleghany County Recreation to assume it, I guess. I'm talking about responsibilities. That is actually the reason why, I think, I can't remember, I got on that board right before last season, somewhere in there, 8 months. I got on there right before the last set of coaches got selected, somewhere in there. The reason I got on there because there was pressure, whether it be from the school system and things of that nature for, now I'm talking about Alleghany County government.
Correct.
I'm not talking about what the athletic director does, I'm not talking about what y'all do as volunteers. I got on that board just to see what kind of pressures was coming for Alleghany County. The difference between Sertoma and any other organization that Alleghany County Recreation runs is we handle it start to finish. We handle it from the registration to private insurance to going out to arranging the refs versus our relationship with Sertoma was a gradual relationship as Sertoma needed, and I think my rec director started extending himself out on Sertoma just because he thought he was doing the right thing. I think the question here today, and the question's going to be for Alleghany County, okay, is, and I'm talking about the rec director, and I'm talking about people in that rec department, is what level, whether it be Sertoma or whether it be this new league that you're talking about forming, what level of participation are we gonna participate in the Sertoma League? You need to ask, you know,
I think that's a question for the board to answer.
I know, and I mean. I'm
Do
just
you
saying
guys want
that's
to be
what-
legally responsible, or taxpayers? That's who puts the bill, taxpayers.
Well, as you suggested in the beginning, I'm gonna ask Mr. Smith if he along with the county manager will take this and then bring it back to us with the recommendations based on what you provided tonight.
Correct.
Based on what Don's familiar with, what Mr. Smith is familiar with, and bring it back to this board so that we can move forward as you're suggesting.
Correct. That's all we're asking.
And let me just say that, I think it was a couple months ago when you had showed me these documents. And then I think maybe you took them and showed, it was
I
Dr.
gave him
Cox.
Dr. Cox.
Dr. Cox.
Yes.
Okay, and I think there were some comments made that it looks a little.
Yeah, they got their attention real quick. They really did, they got their attention.
And what he was talking about with this Sertoma years ago, and I was a little more involved with it when it started, we wanted a place to play, and we approached it.
Correct.
And I think our youngsters, probably 3rd through 6th,
Correct.
didn't have them.
We didn't have a place to play, we didn't have a place to play.
Nobody.
We were scared.
Yeah.
And they did take it, and it started off, it was mostly a volunteer, well, it was strictly volunteer.
Correct.
And then, like Mr. Adams says, I think when the volunteerism started to wane a little bit, then the county got involved.
Correct.
And, I don't wanna sleep with a snake.
I don't. What I think about this,
That's
guys.
what you're saying.
Quite candidly, gentlemen, it boils down to a few things. What we had asked all along from day one, and I can verify this with documentations, I just asked for an opportunity to present a better way of running a conference, a more transparent, more accountable way of doing business, so to speak. But instead of hearing what, I asked, I would like to meet with the superintendents to just present a proposal of a conference model that has complete transparency, has accountability at all levels, from the parents to the coaches to the players to the officials, everyone involved. And instead of affording me the opportunity to just present that, I was asked, listen, you're gonna have to prove to us why we need to get out of this. So we did not start this journey with the intent of hurting anyone or being malicious in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We were trying to do what was best for the kids first. Second, to cover all the people that it's involved. But instead, we were told to prove why you want to do this. So that's what started the ball rolling on chasing down the 990s, chasing down the insurance forms, all those things. I don't like having a finger pointed at me more than anyone else in this room does. I've made mistakes in my life. But the fact of the matter is, we did not start this to walk in and do this to any one person. We wanted to just say, listen, we think there's a better way to do it. We want to take, in Don and David's defense, that it shouldn't have been on them. Quite candidly, it should not have been the county's responsibility for them to have to take up money, to have to be there to open and run the gates, to paint the fields. That was not the intent in the very beginning, as Mr. Smith has stated. What we had set in place, and it was a very good model, we feel is very strong, that would take the responsibility off of the county. The way we would do it, we would present you with a full liability policy that covers the county as well as the coaches and everyone involved to have the ability to play on the county's field. And then the accident policies along that Don's already very familiar with, because he does it through the rec. He provides that through the rec programs for our children here through the rec. But we had all that laid out. But instead of just letting us show that model of transparency and accountability for everyone, we were said, go hunt. You got to go hunt for something to prove why we need to move. So all we're really asking is we will give you the information which you've already have, and we've got some other documents coming. However, all we're asking is just an opportunity to present a clean, transparent, accountable conference model that will cover our county, our kids, our coaches, everyone involved, and the monies stay here in the county, rather than going and giving a scholarship to someone we don't even know in another county, to give donations to people we have no idea who they may be. We would just like the money to stay here. As commissioners, you're looking for ways to keep money in the county instead of sending money outside of the county. This is one of the things that we were trying to do. Another thing, just on that note, these other sports clubs that Mr. Collins was talking about earlier, we've seen the account ledgers where they've got $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 sitting in those accounts because they run those programs effectively, and it generates an income to go buy equipment. You're going to be presented, the county commissioners are going to be presented with a budget from the school here in the next little bit. Within that budget is going to be a line item for athletics. Well, what we've said all along is the football clubs, if Coach Sessions comes to us and says, hey, listen, and he presents it to the Board of Education and they can't do it because there's just no money there, is that, hey, listen, we're raising money that we are more than happy to keep within the football program. If it goes to the county, fantastic. It will be a gift to the Board of Education, and they can buy, if they need a new sled. We talked about buying a new sled for the varsity football team. They're not going to have the money to do that. But if we've got the money in that account, then we can help step in and take some of the burden off of the county. Keep the money here instead of sending it somewhere else where we have no accountability of where the money's going to. So I'll leave you with this. We're just asking for an opportunity to present a transparent, accountable conference model.
And what you have presented us tonight is great information for information purposes, and most officers are seeing this for the first time. I'm just saying that if, with the county manager, and if Commissioner Smith is willing to do so, then bring something back to this board where we can vote on it. But we need to have some work done, and some background work, and Tracy says you have more information coming, and I think that would be beneficial. But I don't think we're at a point tonight to be able to act on something.
And I think
I don't think we expect it, so it's good.
another thing that would have to occur, with all due respect with the board, is what are you actually voting on? Because if I heard correctly, what we're talking about basically is, okay, well then, you gotta realize we're confusing things here. You've got the Board of Education and Board of Education property. That even the property that's titled in Alleghany County's name, they're the ones who are the leaseholders, who are responsible for it. The only reason it's titled in our name is because we borrowed money, and then basically we give them a lease that pretty much say they're in control of everything. So